Congressman George Santos just can't seem to keep himself out of controversy after first being accused of lying on his resume. More disturbing reporting about Santos' past has emerged. A disabled veteran, Richard Ossoff, now claims that in 2016, George Santos promised to help him raise funds for his sick dog's life-saving surgery, but the money disappeared, or he disappeared with the money, rather, after $3,000 in funds were raised. I'm sorry I'm laughing. This is not funny, it's just so wild. Sapphire, the pit bull, died from cancer shortly thereafter. Not funny at all. I'm a dog owner myself. It's just wild that this person was elected to Congress.
It's bizarre. I'm waiting for the e-Hollywood story, the Hallmark version of this to be written, because it's better than fiction.
Well, Ossoff also said that Santos went by a different name, Anthony Devolder. When asked how he determined Santos was indeed Anthony, here's what he told CNN.
I saw his face and I knew I sort of recognized him a little bit because we had been Facebook friends while the campaign was going on. So I knew what he looked like. And I knew his voice, and that was the only thing I knew about him. And I saw him on TV, and I was like, I got a feeling in the pit of my stomach about this guy. Who is he, and why do I recognize him? And then that was in December, right around Christmas time. Just about a week ago, he was in the Capitol, and there was a bunch of reporters following around, asking us questions like that's about the only thing you see him, anymore. And one of them said, "What's your name today? Is it Anthony Devolder or is it George Santos?"
So you had the pit in your stomach in December, and then when that name was said,
correct,
a week ago,
right,
then you realized.
I was sick. Yeah, to see that somebody like that could do something that dastardly could raise to such high position, that shouldn't be right. That shouldn't happen.
According to ABC News, Santos denies that claim, and as of this taping, has not responded to a request for comment.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Also new this week, MSNBC columnist Marissa Cabas reported yesterday that a Brazilian drag queen now contends she wants new Santos, or rather Anthony, to perform in drag under the stage name Katara. Santos denied the reporting in a tweet this morning, writing, quote, "The most recent obsession from the media claiming that I am a drag queen or performed as a drag queen is categorically false. The media continues to make outrageous claims about my life while I am working to deliver results. I will not be distracted nor fazed by this." Despite all the controversy, Republican House leadership rewarded Santos with 2 committee assignments last week. He will be sitting on the Science and Small Business committees. Some of his colleagues have called on him to step down, but Santos says he has no plans to do so. Now, I think it's worth saying first and foremost that the idea of, the kind of aspect of him potentially being a drag performer that's remarkable isn't because it's wrong or weird or kooky or problematic in the least to be a drag performer. It's that, one, it's such a departure from who he's presented himself as being, and seems to be one in a long list of lies that really cut to the issue of his long-term credibility or whether or not his mental state is really that you want in a Congress member. And also, too, he belongs to a party that just in the past week or 10 days has promulgated a number of laws, including one that would ban drag performances outright as something that is immoral and something that should not be allowed legally in the country.
Which is such a shame because, as you pointed out in your radar this week, there is a proud tradition of drag performance within the New York Republican Party where he has been elected. America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, famously donning drag to romance, to seduce a future Republican president, Donald Trump.
I like how you put that. I was going to say he was motorboated by Donald Trump.
Whoa.
That's a lot more elegant.
Your dirty mind after viewing the Martin Luther King Memorial statue, it's R-rated, the stuff coming out of Briahna these days.
Look, it's not me. It's the news that's R-rated. The news keeps being R-rated. Or not R-rated in this case, but just very colorful. I mean, look, let me do some Democrat critique here. I do think it's very naive to think that social pressure, social controversy will necessarily mean that this guy doesn't get committee appointments or is asked to step down. The reality is that politicians do way worse things than lie about who they are. They lie about whether they'll deliver for the American people, who has purchased them, and who is really setting their agenda. And that's a much bigger crime than coming out late in life and not telling people that you're a drag performer.
Yes, calling your brother to make sure he buys a bunch of Pfizer stock or sells your stock in whatever, or having Facebook stock while ranting against them or regulating. That is the really crooked stuff that our current in good standing members of Congress are up to. They're not dressing up in drag. Who cares?
I mean,
who cares?
And the dog stuff, it's not great. It doesn't make him seem like a very good person. It makes him seem kind of like a thief and a crook, frankly. But, what was it, Robby that strapped the dogs to the roof of the car on vacation? And
that was an accident, I think.
Okay, I'm just saying, the mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Things happen, and it doesn't impact any of these people's political careers, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Joe Biden was not able to run for president, or had to drop out the first time 80,000 years ago for plagiarizing a speech. Yep. That was the thing Joe Biden was known for years.
Yep.
Was that he was the guy who plagiarized that speech. Hillary Clinton and a million other people exaggerated how. Politicians love to start the story. Yeah, I went to Iraq to see what was going on, and we came under fire, and I took out 10 Iraqi jihadists myself, and the story gets more. It's like the fish was this big, the fish was this big, the fish was this big.
Right.
They all love those, and they all do that.
Yeah, Joe Biden, I saw. I think it was a speech he was giving on MLK weekend, was talking about how he grew up in the black church. He spent so much time in the black church. Every Sunday I went to the black church, and people were like, And then a few days later, there was this video of him in the middle of a gospel performance at a black church, I think during all of his commemorative events, standing there extremely awkwardly next to, I think, Raphael Warnock, who was like clapping, everybody else is like having a good time. And Joe Biden is standing there looking like he doesn't know what to do with his hands. Not like someone, I would say, who grew up in the black church.
Kamala Harris say she was being interviewed and said she liked some black musical artist.
It was the marijuana
up.
stuff. She was on the Breakfast Club, and they asked her if she smoked pot. She says, "Of course I do. I've smoked pot before. My dad's Jamaican," which her dad, who is like an esteemed, very straight-laced professor, did not like at all. And then to gild the story, she talked about listening in college to Tupac, I think it was, while smoking pot, and the timeline doesn't work out. Like Tupac was also like in high school or something when that would have happened. Politicians lie. I think it matters more when they lie about substantive policy than about pot or drag performances. Sure. I do think that this goes somewhat to character. Again, we were talking a little bit about evidentiary standards and when you can bring in evidence. The idea that George Santos has committed like a financial fraud on this guy with the dog situation, I think is material. I wouldn't trust him to be on any committee that is budget related or has anything to do with American taxpayer money.
You wouldn't trust him to like coordinate the bake sale.
I wouldn't trust him to babysit my friend's dog. But he's here now, and people have to figure out what to do with him. And people in New York, Democrats have a lot of responsibility on their hands as well, because it was because the New York races were handled so poorly, the redistricting was handled so poorly, that George Santos is in this position to begin with. Apparently all of the intel was there on him, and it just wasn't used. It wasn't publicized until after he already won his election. And now Democrats are doing a victory lap over this George Santos stuff, and I don't know that they have earned that right, given that but for them, George Santos probably wouldn't even be in Congress.
Indeed. Well, we will continue to look for more interesting George Santos stories, and we will have more Rising right after this.